For centuries, legends of sea monsters have ignited our imaginations, and fossil records tell the story of a prehistoric shark so massive that it would one day become the subject of a Jason Statham movie. Today, we're talking about Megalodon, the giant prehistoric shark that ruled the seven seas. But before we get started, make sure to subscribe to the Weird History channel. After that, we'd be much obliged if you'd leave a comment letting us know what other prehistoric topics you would like to hear about next. Okay, you're gonna need a bigger boat. Like, much bigger. Today, most sharks vary in size, like boxers. Some are 5 to 7 feet long. Hammerheads can get up to 20 feet. The great white shark averages 11 to 16 feet, with females growing longer than males, but can grow much larger. And there are hundreds of species that can only grow to around 39 inches or less. Is it even really a shark at that point? It feels like it should at least be big enough to eat something that would get it on the news. But in prehistoric times, everything was pretty supersized. During its time as an apex predator, the Megalodon reached lengths of 60 feet or more. For comparison, the biggest great white shark is the same length as its ancient ancestor's reproductive organ. Not even the mighty great white can recover from that comparison. But size isn't the only thing that mattered. You've probably heard Tyrannosaurus Rex described as the king of the dinosaurs. Well, the Megalodon was king of the seas, like Poseidon, if Poseidon were a giant meat torpedo with 7-inch teeth. According to studies performed by Stephen Rowe of the University of New South Wales in Australia, the Megalodon's jaws created a maximum 4,000 pounds of bite force pressure. That's strong enough to smash a car like a junkyard crusher. Luckily, the Megalodon went extinct, or else we might all have to stop driving our cars through the ocean. For another comparison, picture any scene from your favorite shark movie, Jaws 2, Jaws 3D, etc., where the shark bites someone. Now imagine that same bite is 10 times more powerful. That is the force of a Megalodon's bite. And also, you would not have been allowed to see that movie. Not even whales are safe from the Megalodon's devastating jaws. Fossil records show Megalodon bite marks on baleen whales from the time period, which just goes to show no creature, great or small, was off the menu. Comparing the Megalodon and the great white shark seems like it would make sense. They've both had a number of movies made about them. But in reality, the modern great white probably didn't evolve from its giant prehistoric cousin. While their teeth are similarly shaped, the two sharks are entirely different species. In fact, great whites are more closely related to mako sharks. As for the Megalodon, it could have been related to a different supersized shark, Otodus, which lived 45 to 60 million years ago. Some scientists believe Otodus eventually evolved into the Megalodon based on some dental similarities. Otodus's serrated teeth could very well have been the predecessors of the Megalodon's flesh-ripping chompers. They also likely had the same diet of large marine life during their time in the ocean, including baleen whales. When you're a giant prehistoric shark, there's nothing that's not on the menu. In pop culture, great white sharks are often portrayed as vicious hunters, but that isn't really the case. They're ambush predators, striking prey from underneath and quickly pulling it underwater. And while they certainly pursue their favorite prey with gusto, the sharks almost never attack humans. Humans are far too high in muscle and low in fat to satiate a great white. It's like stopping to pick up a half-eaten sandwich from the sidewalk. It'll do in a pinch, but it's not what you left the house for. However, it's theorized that Megalodon was much more aggressive. Scientists believe that this prehistoric shark used to systematically disable its prey, biting off the fins and tails of whales before devouring them. It likely also attacked from below. But rather than pulling prey under, the Megalodon would have simply torn open its underside and feasted on succulent meat. Eesh. Although the Megalodon had 7-inch long teeth and a fearsome bite, it did lack one thing: a strong skeleton. Should have had a few glasses of milk in between whales, buddy. Most shark skeletons have a ton of cartilage in them. Unfortunately, the flexible connective tissue effectively disintegrates after the animal dies. So that means the Megalodon's fossil record isn't exactly complete. Most of what we know about the shark comes from its teeth. The size and characteristics of the Megalodon's pearly whites led scientists to believe the shark had a large jaw. But fossilized teeth are not a yearbook photo. As of 2022, a study published in Historical Biology confirmed scientists are still trying to find proof of what the Megalodon actually looked like. As one of the researchers noted, the reality is there are presently no scientific means to support or refute the accuracy of any of the previously published body forms of Otodus megalodon. So, until we find more scientific evidence of its appearance, or someone invents a time machine, we'll probably never know what Megalodon truly looked like. For all we know, it had a mullet. Humans have been long fascinated by Megalodon's deadly jaws. So much so that a bunch of dudes famously posed for a picture with a set of Megalodon chompers back in black and white times. But when people first discovered the beast's teeth, they believed the massive fossils to be fallen moon rocks. Apparently, they thought the moon just sheds those things, and that the moon has teeth. Other cultures thought they might be the hardened tongues of ancient dragons or humongous snakes. In 1666, a scientist compared the large fossils to contemporary shark teeth and realized that the mysterious bones were the remnants of a massive shark. Megalodon teeth aren't particularly scarce either. They keep popping up all over the globe. Italy and Croatia are home to several of the fossils. A man named Judd Keeling of Suffolk, Virginia, found over 280 meg teeth. And in 2017, a young boy found a 5-inch long tooth while vacationing with his family in Myrtle Beach, presumably frustrating all those old guys with metal detectors. Some sharks prefer swimming in shallow, prey-filled waters. Others prefer the deeper ocean. Given its size, you might expect the Megalodon to have patrolled the open water for its food. But scientists believe the Megalodon might have actually lived in warm, shallow waters instead of the cold depths of the sea. The warm waters off the coast of Panama was likely a home for these prehistoric predators. Based on the number of smaller teeth collected in this area, baby Megalodons were likely raised there. Maybe they just really dug that Van Halen song. Fortunately, their preference for warm water might have contributed to their extinction. When the water grew colder, the shark would have been unable to stand the temperature drop. It's also possible their prey moved on as the waters grew colder, but the actual reason behind Megalodon's demise remains a mystery. Speaking of the Megalodon's prey, you might be surprised or repulsed at what they ate. Since fossil records show the Megalodon went extinct approximately 2.6 million years ago, scientists can use that knowledge to figure out what other animals were alive at the time. And that can tell us more about their diets. The big sharks likely faced fierce competition from giant sperm whales that weighed 50 tons and were approximately the same length. The two animals would have fed on the same prey, which meant they probably got into more than one turf war. What kind of prey? Well, as we mentioned earlier, whales were definitely on the menu, as well as turtles and seals. Seems like it would have to swallow a bunch of seals before it felt full, like eating a sleeve of rice cakes. But luckily, there was plenty of fresh seafood for Megalodon to sink its teeth into in those ancient seas. Although the Megalodon died out millions of years ago, that hasn't stopped people from believing it still exists today. Everyone loves Shark Week. The annual block of documentary content airing every summer on the Discovery Channel has been taking shark enthusiasts everywhere on a journey to the depths of the ocean since 1988. In 2013, Discovery Channel launched Shark Week with a faux documentary program called Megalodon: The Monster Shark Lives, featuring actors playing scientists discussing an ongoing hunt to capture the titular monster. However, there wasn't any indication that the show was a work of fiction. Kinda seems like that's a thing the Discovery Channel should let you know. And while the program generated plenty of backlash, that didn't stop them from creating more documentaries on the subject. And videos purporting to be footage of the Megalodon went viral in both 2008 and 2016, only later to be debunked as images of a sleeper shark. But science tells us that the Megalodon is long extinct and isn't coming back anytime soon. No teeth newer than 2.6 million years old have ever been found, and the ecological world would notice if a massive apex predator suddenly started eating a bunch of whales. The shark's sheer size and its gargantuan eating habits couldn't be kept a secret in the modern world, especially since Megalodon preferred to stay in warm, shallow water rather than the deep ocean, where it would be much more difficult to find a reliable food source. If any of these things were still around, they'd have shown up in the background of somebody's TikTok by now. Unless they already have, and we just haven't noticed. So what do you think? Do you think it's possible the Megalodon could still be lurking somewhere out in the ocean? Let us know in the comments below, and while you're at it, check out some of these other videos from our weird history.